Your hand is shaking so badly you can barely hold the pen, and the words you've waited 5 years to write are finally, impossibly, here. It is September 1939, and you are standing in your mother's kitchen in Coventry, the smell of toast and coal smoke thick in the air. The wireless crackles on the kitchen shelf, and Chamberlain's voice fills the room, measured and grave, announcing that Britain is now at war with Germany. You turn and look at your mother's face, and she is already looking at you, and both of you understand exactly what this means. 3 weeks later, you are at the recruitment office on Hertford Street, and the queue stretches out the door and down the pavement into a grey autumn morning. You sign your name, and the recruiting sergeant shakes your hand, and just like that, you belong to the British Army. Your mother presses a letter into your hand at the train station, sealed with wax, and tells you not to open it until you need it most. Basic training in Aldershot is cold, brutal, and relentless. 6 weeks of mud and shouting that strips you down to something harder than you were. You learn to field strip your Lee Enfield blindfolded until the metal parts feel like extensions of your own hands. You write to your mother every Sunday, sitting on your cot with the letter resting on a hardback book, telling her as little about the fear as possible. By spring 1940, you are crossing the channel on a troop ship, the white cliffs behind you shrinking into grey haze, and you do not know if you will ever see them again. France smells like diesel and spring rain, and something underneath that you cannot name yet, though you will learn its name soon enough. The German advance comes faster than anyone believed possible, and within days, the word that nobody wants to say out loud is being whispered in every bivouac: Dunkirk. You march for 2 days without stopping, your boots eating your heels raw, the sound of artillery growing louder behind you with every hour. When you finally reach the beach at Dunkirk, what you see stops your breath: 10 miles of sand packed with men, and beyond them, the grey sea, and beyond that, England. You stand in the water up to your chest for 6 hours, rifle held above your head, waiting for a boat that you are not certain will come. A civilian vessel, a river pleasure boat, incongruously cheerful in faded paint, pulls alongside you, and a deckhand reaches down. You collapse onto the deck and lie on your back and stare at the sky, and it is perfectly ordinary, cloud and pale blue, and you are alive. Back in England, there is a week's leave, and you sit in your mother's kitchen again, and she puts a cup of tea in front of you and asks nothing, just sits with you. You try to write her a letter even though you are sitting 3 feet away from her, just to find the words, but you cannot, not yet. The Blitz begins in September 1940, and even at your base in Wiltshire, you can see the orange glow above the horizon at night, where London is burning. A letter from your mother arrives telling you the Anderson shelter held, and she is fine, and you read it so many times the paper goes soft at the folds. In 1942, you are posted to North Africa, and the heat of Egypt hits you at the dock like a wall, dry, enormous, ancient, indifferent. The Western Desert is a different kind of war, vast and flat and featureless, except for the shimmer of heat and the distant smoke of armor. You fight at El Alamein in October, moving through night in near silence, the ground hard and cold underfoot, stars overhead impossibly bright. After the battle, Montgomery's voice crackles over the wireless and tells you that this is not the end, nor even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning. You write to your mother from a foxhole with a stub of pencil, the paper already gritty with sand before the first word is written. You tell her the weather is fine and the food is passable and you are keeping well, which is roughly half true on a good day. In Tunisia in 1943, the enemy finally surrenders, and you watch 250, 000 prisoners march past you in a column that takes 3 hours to pass. It is almost incomprehensible. You sit on an ammunition crate and eat a biscuit and think about your mother's kitchen and the smell of soap and the sound of rain on the window. Sicily comes next in July, a hot amphibious landing on a rocky shore with the Mediterranean impassably blue behind you. Italy is mountain war, a crawling, grinding advance up ridges and through rubble, cold rain, every hill a new price to pay. You spend Christmas 1943 in a farmhouse outside Cassino, eating cold rations and listening to the guns, and someone finds a candle, and you all sit around it without speaking. You are pulled back to England in early 1944, though nobody tells you why, until the rumors begin, something big is coming, something enormous, something final. Southern England is an armed camp. Every lane, every field, every barn filled with men and machines, and the suppressed energy of something about to be released. You get a 48-hour pass and take the train to Coventry, and your mother opens the door and puts her arms around you, and neither of you say anything for a full minute. She presses the letter she wrote you in 1939 into your hands again and tells you to keep it, and you realize you never did open it. You tuck it into the breast pocket of your battle dress when you board the train south again and press your palm flat against it and feel it there, thin and warm. On June 5, 1944, you are briefed in a sealed hangar and told your objective, a beach in Normandy called Sword, and the scale of what is being attempted becomes suddenly and terrifyingly real. You write one more letter to your mother that night, seated on your kit, the words coming quickly and simply because there is no more time to be clever or careful. You tell her you love her, which you have not written in any letter before this one, because you were always certain there would be more letters. You hand the letter to the company postal officer and board a landing craft in the dark, and the English Channel is black and huge, and the wind is sharp off the water. The French coast appears out of the gray pre-dawn like a wound on the horizon, smoke and fire, and the sound of naval guns hammering the air. The ramp drops, and the cold water shocks you to the waist, and you run, because the only thing in the world that matters now is forward. By midday on June 6th, you are off the beach and into the hedgerows of Normandy, and you are still alive, which feels like the most improbable fact in the world. The Normandy campaign is a month of dense, claustrophobic hedgerow fighting, every field its own small war, every gate a risk, every barn a guess. You sleep in a ditch on your steel helmet with your rifle across your chest, and wake up every hour and listen to the dark for anything that should not be there. A letter from your mother finds you in a village outside Keene, 3 weeks delayed, smelling faintly of her house, of coal and soap, and something irreplaceable. She tells you Mr. Henderson next door has grown a victory garden, and that the church has had its windows replaced, and that she has kept your room exactly as you left it. The thought of your room, your books, your cricket bat, your one good jacket on the back of the door, hits you so hard you have to sit down on a piece of broken wall. Paris is liberated in August, and the news sweeps through the regiment like electricity, men grinning, clapping each other, speaking about the end, as though it might be real. But Belgium and Holland still have to be crossed, and winter is coming, and the Germans are not finished, not yet. The Market Garden operation in September is a bridge too far in every sense. You spend 5 days in freezing rain watching hope arrive, and then be taken away. Winter 1944 is the worst. The Ardennes counteroffensive rocks the Allied line, and for one dark week, it feels as though everything gained might yet be lost. You write to your mother in a farmhouse cellar by the light of a single candle stub, your breath visible in the frozen air, your fingers almost too cold to form letters. You tell her the weather is cold and you are keeping well, the same lie you have been writing for 5 years, the kindest lie you know. January 1945, and the Ardennes holds. The Germans have spent their last reserves, and the tide, unmistakably and finally, turns. The advance through Germany begins in February, and you cross the Rhine on a pontoon bridge in March, the great river dark and cold and fast below your boots. Germany itself is a landscape of ruin. Every city you pass through is a skeleton, rubble and dust, and the smell of brick powder and something sweet and wrong. In April, your unit liberates Bergen-Belsen, and what you see there cannot be put into a letter, cannot be made into language, cannot be made small enough to carry. You sit on your kit outside the perimeter that night and hold your mother's unopened letter from 1939, and you still do not open it because you are not ready to need it that much. The weeks of April pass in a blur of advance, village after village, white sheets hanging from windows, the enemy dissolving ahead of you. On April 30th, the news comes through that Hitler is dead, and you are sitting in a farmhouse eating bread, and it means everything, and you eat the rest of the bread anyway. Dönitz asks for terms on May 4th, and the regiment is told to halt in place and hold position, and the guns to the east stop in the night, one by one, until there is silence. The silence is the loudest thing you have ever heard. After 5 years, you had forgotten what a night could sound like with no guns in it. It is the evening of May 7th, 1945, and your sergeant tells you it is done. The formal surrender will be announced tomorrow, and that word, done, rings through you like a bell. You go to your billet, a farmhouse bedroom with a clean white ceiling and a window looking east, and you sit on the edge of the bed and just breathe. You pull out your mother's letter from 1939, and you finally break the seal, and the wax is dry and old and crumbles between your fingers like chalk. Her handwriting is neat and careful, and the letter is dated September 3rd, 1939, the very day Chamberlain spoke, and the first line reads, "My darling boy, if you are reading this, you have survived." She tells you she knew you would come back, not because war is kind, but because she refused to believe in any other world than one that still had you in it. She tells you she has kept your room as it was, and your cricket bat is behind the door, and the garden has been dug up for vegetables, but she has saved one rose. She tells you she is proud of you, not for the war, but for the boy you were before it, and the man she trusts you have remained. She signs it simply, "All my love, always, Mum," and underneath that, 6 years earlier, she drew a small rose, careful and exact, in ink. You sit with the letter in your hands for a long time, in the silence, in the dark farmhouse, in the country that tried to kill you and failed. Then you find your writing paper, army issue, rough, slightly damp, and you uncap your pen, and this is the moment we began with, the shaking hand, the impossible words. You write the date, 7th May, 1945, and those numbers look different from every date you have ever written before. You write, "Dear Mum," and then you stop, because there is so much that follows those 2 words that you don't know where to begin. You begin with the facts. It is evening, the war in Europe is over, you are in a farmhouse in Germany, and you are not hurt, because facts are what you can trust. You tell her you finally read her letter, the one she gave you at the station, and that she was right, and you are sorry it took you this long to open it. You try to tell her about France and the desert and Italy and the hedgerows, but find that each memory, when you reach for it, is too large to fit through the nib of a pen. So instead you write about small things, the color of the sky over the Rhine on a cold March morning, blue-white like the inside of a shell. You write about a cat you fed bread to in a Belgian village, and how it followed you for 2 streets, and how you think about that cat sometimes. You write that the silence tonight is remarkable, that you have been listening to it for an hour, and it still does not sound quite real. You write that you have been thinking about toast, of all things, the particular smell of your mother's kitchen on a winter morning, dark bread on the rack. You tell her you have kept her rose, the one from the garden, pressed flat in the back of your paybook since Aldershot, and that it is still faintly pink. You write that you are not the same boy who left Coventry in 1939, but that you think, underneath whatever he has become, he is still there somewhere. You write, I think about coming home almost every day, the train, the street, the door, your face, and I want you to know it kept me going when nothing else did. You write, I am not sure I can explain what the last 5 years have been, but I want you to know that I was never once alone in it. You were always there, in my pocket. Your pen slows as you approach the end of the page, and you realize you are reluctant to reach it. That writing to her is the closest to home you have been in months. You write that you will be home before long, a few weeks, perhaps a month, and that you want nothing more complicated from your first day home than tea and toast and her voice. Then, for the first time in 6 years of letters, because tonight you have earned the right to mean it without it sounding like goodbye, you write, I love you. You sign your name, the same name you have signed on 6 years of letters, but something in the signature feels different tonight, lighter, like a door opening. You fold the letter carefully and fold your mother's old letter inside it, so that they travel together, her words and yours, going home. You go to the window and look east, where the sky is beginning to lighten at its very lowest edge. VE Day is 6 hours away, arriving through the dark like a slow dawn. You stand there in the silence and think about a kitchen in Coventry and a cup of tea and a woman who drew a rose on a letter in 1939 and kept a rose in a garden and kept a room and kept faith across 5 years of darkness. Tomorrow the war will be over, and the day after that you will begin the long journey home. But tonight, for the first time in 5 years, you allow yourself to believe you will actually make it.